Hi, and welcome to Here and There. I'm your host, Jeff Matthews. This month, we celebrate Black History Month with guests who have made an impact on our community and beyond. Bryan Massey will be with us. He has created art and impacted the art community in Conway with works to be enjoyed for generations. Also, Adena White will be here. Adena is a podcaster and a storyteller who is telling stories from and about Black folks down south on her podcast, Blackbelt Voices. Also, Aidan Eslinger, a Conway High Student, joins us. He's been writing books and plays since he was a little bitty kid and has got a bright career ahead of him. He's got a play coming up that we're going to talk about. Also, Dr. Leah Horton from UCA will be here to visit about a 5K that will help the people of Rwanda. And we'll also have our monthly visit with Stefanie Brazile from 501 Life magazine. It's a full show. We're glad you're here with us for Here and There.
You've arrived at your destination.
Welcome back. We are joined by Bryan Massey. He is the chair of art and design at UCA, and thank you for being with us. First of all, tell me about the beginning of this journey for you. What sparked interest in art for you?
Well, originally I wanted to be an illustrator for Hallmark.
Okay.
And so I pursued the career of graphic design, illustration, and thought that's the path I was going to take. But one day I was on campus at East Carolina doing summer school, heard this commotion going on.
Okay.
So I peeked around the wall, and there was this little gentleman about 5'1" with a goatee with white hair, and he and some students were struggling with this stone that was on the truck. I found out the cable had snapped. They didn't want it to fall and break. So I said, "You guys need some help?" They said, yeah. So now I was playing football at East Carolina at the time, so I put my shoulder underneath and I nudged it back on the truck. They're like, "Man, you're strong." He said, "I need some sculpture guys in my area that are strong." He said, "Why don't you take some of my classes?" I was like, "Okay." So I took a couple of survey classes the following fall, and the rest is history.
So from wanting to design greeting cards to
Right.
working with stone.
That's a big move.
It is
It's
a big move.
I went from a pen and paper to hammer and chisel.
Yeah.
And I found the work very invigorating, challenging, and that's what I liked.
Are you able to take a block of stone and you see the finished product, or does it take shape as you are working on it?
I see the finished product.
see
I
the
see it
finished?
gallery ready. I see it in the gallery with the lights on the pedestal, and I take the process of chiseling away the stone that doesn't belong, as they say.
Okay. Is that a hard thing to teach? Do you try to teach it that way?
I do teach it that way.
Okay.
I try to get students to work from ideas and concepts in the sketchbooks to working up a clay maquette and a model so they can work with that. That allows me to help them see the stone so they don't carve out too much off the front or the back. Make sure they have enough stone left to carve it.
Because you can't go backwards.
Can't go backwards. I always have a plan B. Sometimes stones will break and crack, but you don't want them to break and crack.
Yeah.
And so I always have a plan B. How will I fix this? How will I make it work? So a lot of times I'll cut it and then put another stone in there, make it separate, and then make it two different stones in one piece.
Where does the stone come from? I mean, is there a place in the country, in the world, that's got better stone than others?
Well, all the Indiana limestone comes out of Indiana, out of that state. The alabaster I use comes out of Colorado.
Okay.
The soapstone comes out of Charlottesville, Virginia. The marble granite comes out of Georgia.
A little bit everywhere.
A little bit everywhere.
A little bit everywhere. Did you ever see yourself as a chair of the art and
I
design
did not.
department? Yeah.
One, because I'm not a politician. Two, I'm not a yes man. And when I accepted the position, I turned them down 3 times.
Did you?
And I told them, I said, "Listen, this is what you're getting. I'm not going to be in a shirt and tie every day. I'm going to be on a working tie because I'm a working chair. And if you want to know something, I'm going to tell you the truth. If it gets me in trouble or you in trouble, I'm going to tell you the truth about things." And I've had 2 different deans at this time, and both things came to me and said, "Bryan, we not had one person come to complain about you the entire time you've been chair." Because I try to treat everybody fair.
Yeah.
And I say what I mean what I say.
So there's obviously always construction going on at UCA, and going down Donaghy right now, we're seeing this new big art building. Is that where?
That's where we are.
Okay.
There's still some learning things in the building. Things
Sure.
haven't been quite fixed yet or operational, but it's been a long time coming.
Yeah.
I'm in my 35th year. We're in a facility now that's going to give us a cutting-edge programming in our department. Students are interested. Students are coming in, and it's been very challenging but yet it's been very profitable for the university.
Any football bears come through your classes over the
There
years?
was a few. I have a couple in my class now that
Okay.
are taking the class. But yeah, I've had quite a few to come through.
That's probably a unique connection
It
that
is.
you've got with
and
them.
what I try to do, if I know I got an athlete in my class, I try to support them, whatever sport they're playing. And if there's a game going on, I try to go to the game and watch them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, it's great to have you on the show.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you for what you've done at UCA and will continue to do.
I appreciate it.
We
Jeff.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
We've done it again, Conway, thanks to you. Once again, we've been chosen best of in Faulkner County. You need to come in and browse the facilities. We're a full-service jewelry store. We have everything you can possibly think of, but custom seems to be our brand name and our mark. We can produce some of the finest jewelry that has become so far over the top. I've never seen anything like what this store is capable of doing. Anything that you can conceive, we can make it here at Brooks Fine Jewelry.
Brooks Fine Jewelry, your jewelry makers in downtown Conway.
Welcome back to Here and There. We're joined by Adena White. She is the, I want to get this right, founder and chief storyteller of Black Belt Media, which is more than just the podcast, which I want people to make sure that they're aware of, but
Yes.
the podcast is where we'll spend some of our time. Tell me what it means to be a chief storyteller.
Yes, that's a title I gave myself.
Oh, good.
I saw another public relations practitioner who went out on her own, gave herself that title.
Yeah.
And so I really like the sound of it because I don't have any staff, so being a chief executive officer sounded a little, presumptuous for someone with no staff. So yeah, I thought storytelling is kind of what I do, so I just came up with that.
And our paths crossed years ago in a
Yes.
previous life that I had in radio, and then moved into a role of public relations, and so realized that really what I did there, what we do in PR, what we do here is
It
storytelling.
really is, yes.
It's
Yes.
such an important part of what that means. And so let's talk about the new world of storytelling. Podcasts
Yes.
is obviously something that's gotten very popular. Tell me about how this whole idea of your podcast came about.
Yeah. When I first, I write mostly, so my first thought when I wanted to talk about Black Southerners and Black Southern culture was to write a blog. And I wrote one story. It was really long. We have the attention span of a goldfish now. So I'm like, no one's going to read this. And I knew a podcast would be the best way to get it out there, but I'm not really, I'm not you. I'm not a radio. I don't have that background. So anyway, I pulled along my co-host, Kara Wilkins, who's just very energetic to be a co-host. My sister Katrina has a background in broadcast journalism.
Okay.
She helps produce it, that's along with her husband, Prentice, who is a musician, so he helps put it together. So I think that it was just the best way to tell these stories that we wanted to tell, besides just writing big, long features about everybody.
So part of what we're doing this month is celebrating Black History Month, and on your podcasts and just in your website in general, that's where the stories lie. Was that a space that wasn't being filled in the podcast world?
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of podcasts and magazines and blogs about, Black culture in general.
Yeah.
And there's Blavity, there's For Harriet about Black women, and there's stuff about Southerners. But I felt like in the space of Black Southerners, that was missing back in 2017 when we came up with it.
Yeah.
So I felt like it was filling that little gap
Yeah.
about Black Southern storytelling,
How has it been received? Obviously, in a way that you probably never imagined, or maybe you did imagine.
I did not. We launched in 2019, September 2019, and in January of 2020, Apple Podcasts featured us.
Yeah.
And then, of course, in December of 2020, after the murder of George Floyd, we got more attention from Apple. That led to Oprah Daily picking it up on podcasts to make you smarter, and also Vanity Fair on Black History podcast. So that was we did not expect that at all. So that was a shock. So.
You didn't go into it hoping you'd
No.
cross the desk of Oprah.
Right, exactly.
That is exciting, though.
Yeah.
It's why we don't do what we do for the accolades. But gosh, when they come, you feel like there's some confirmation there.
Yeah, you really do, and it has some imposter syndrome crept up. Like, oh my gosh, I don't know. I got nervous about it, but it was I don't know. It was a good feeling. Like, let's just keep making it better.
Yeah.
So.
Let's talk about one of the segments on the podcast is the Turn to Your Neighbor. Turn to your neighbor. And I love these stories. Where did that idea come from?
Yeah, Katrina actually came up with that idea because we grew up in the Black church, and a lot of preachers always say, turn to your neighbor and say neighbor, and have you repeat the phrase. So with Black Belt, because as we talked about, it's kind of bigger than a podcast, my mission is storytelling for social change. So I was getting to where I wanted to tell the stories from thought leaders and on racial equity and social justice, but then you kind of leave out the people, the everyday people that kind of sparked the idea.
Yeah.
So Turn to Your Neighbor allows us to talk to people who are just like us, just our neighbors and people who are doing cool things in their communities who may not be experts on racial equity and social justice.
Right.
So.
So what do you see 5 years from now? What's the future of not only the podcast, but just Black Belt Media in general?
Yeah, I'm hoping to continue the podcast. Right now we're on a hiatus, haven't done much lately, but maybe eventually getting to where we can travel to places, maybe during the summer and talk to people in person. Continuing with like public relations consulting for cause-driven organizations across the South, and maybe, more speaking engagements and maybe trainings and maybe an anthology type book about people's stories. So we'll see. There's a lot of ideas, but I just need to sit down and do a little bit at a time.
Well, thank you for taking some time to do this with us today. It's been great to see you again.
Thanks for having me.
We've done it again, Conway, thanks to you. Once again, we've been chosen best of in Faulkner County. You need to come in and browse the facilities. We're a full-service jewelry store. We have everything you can possibly think of, but custom seems to be our brand name and our mark. We can produce some of the finest jewelry that has become so far over the top. I've never seen anything like what this store is capable of doing. Anything that you can conceive, we can make it here at Brooks Fine Jewelry.
Brooks Fine Jewelry, your jewelry makers in downtown Conway.
Welcome back to Here and There. We are joined by Aidan Eslinger. Aidan is a junior at Conway High School, and I've known Aidan for a while, but really gotten to know him better this past year. He's part of the Six Legs Productions that is the student-led video group at school. So if you've been to a Conway game, a football or a basketball game, and you've seen the things that are up on the big screens, that's his group, him and his classmates that are doing that. They're doing great work over there. But we wanted to have you on today to talk about something else that you're a part of.
Yes.
Very much a part of. You are a producer, writer, and director. In Love with Another Man is the name of this play. So tell me about that. How'd this all come about?
Well, for the past, I would say maybe almost 10 years, I've been putting on my own theatrical productions. Started as small church plays, and now we've elevated to full theater productions. And we did a production of it in West Memphis.
Okay.
And now we're bringing it to Conway for a live recording that we can distribute everywhere, and we're really excited about it.
So a live recording, is it going to be like stationary cameras, or will there be cameras on stage? I mean, how does that part work?
We're gonna do about 3 cameras from the house.
Okay.
And picking up all these incredible actors and singers on the stage, and it's gonna be big.
So what is it about? What is In Love with Another Man? Obviously, someone is in love with another man.
Yes.
Go deeper than that.
It sounds quite crazy and ridiculous, but it is kind of grounded. It's about this woman who's not quite happy in her marriage, and this new man comes through and sweeps her off her feet. And meanwhile, you have these other relationships with mothers and daughters, and then fathers and sons. And it's really an incredible spiritual story as well about how you can follow your heart and do what's best for you.
So tell me about who's in it. Who are the actors that we would see on stage?
You have Jamie Mack, who is an incredible actress and singer. My aunt, Kia Buckingham, who is a fantastic singer. She has an album out right now. As well as my cousin, Latoya Jordan, and she's hilarious, as well as myself. It's really, really good.
So you'll be on stage as well?
I will.
I'm sorry I didn't mention producer, writer, director, star.
Trust me, you do not have to. You do not have to. But yes, I'll be on stage as well.
So this, like you said, it's been 10 years. You're not an old man. So why did this become such a part of who you are at such an early age?
I've always had a desire to entertain and inspire people, no matter what I was doing. And when I was auditioning for a play and I did not get the part, I said, well, screw them all. I'll do my own play. And just from then, my mom and we sat down and wrote something. And ever since then, it's just gotten bigger and bigger.
So take me through that process. You've got an idea for this play. Do you develop characters first? Is it what happens? What's the beginning stages?
Usually, it'll be something small. For instance, for this play, it was this song called "In Love with Another Man." That is a big song. I love the song. I was listening to the lyrics. And I said, "This is a storyline." So I took it, started with that character, and then started with my setting, and then just started building off of these building blocks piece by piece. And then I write original music for the play. So once I have these characters and these scenes, I write music, and it all just kind of flourishes from there.
So you've got another year of high school.
Correct.
And then you've got forever. What does forever look like for you? What are the plans?
I just want to continue to get better at what I do, become a better writer, filmmaker, all of the above, continue to elevate and learn and make connections and just kind of see where my talents can take me, see how far I can get.
Who's someone that inspires you?
Oh, I can go on for days, from my mom to my dad to my family to my teachers to celebrities like Tyler Perry and all of, to local people like you who are doing great things and in this area I try to learn from everybody that I can. I try to look for something to learn from each person I come in contact with.
Well, you could. What about me? I'm just kidding.
You're great. Really, really great. Jeff Matthews is awesome.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Aidan, thank you for being here.
Hey, thank you for
Good
letting me
luck.
come.
And I guess we should, before we go any further, before we wrap up, what about the play? When is it? I've got the dates here. It's going to come up. It's in February, so this is airing in February. But when exactly is the play?
The play is February 18th.
Okay.
At the James H. Clark Auditorium at 5 p.m. You can get tickets at www.aidaneslinger.com.
So, and then you talked about the live recording. Will that be on your website as well at some point?
We are actually finding a platform to put it on, but more information about that will come soon.
So that's what I wanted you to have. I wanted to have you on because even though some people will see this after it's been on stage, they'll still have a chance to see it.
You will. We're putting a big emphasis on that live recording so we can put it out for everyone to see. But you want to catch it live.
Absolutely. Good to see you. Thank you
so
very
much.
much.
Express yourself with beautiful custom jewelry from Brooks Fine Jewelry.
Come on down to Brooks Fine Jewelry and take a look at some of the new products that we offer. We have a new extensive line of men's watches, and we invite all those watch crazies out there that want to come in and take a look. They're here for you to look at and try on. As a full-service jewelry store, we offer hand engraving and laser engraving for just about anything you can imagine. So come on down to Brooks Fine Jewelry and visit with us. We look forward to seeing you.
Brooks Fine Jewelry, your jewelry makers in downtown Conway.
Welcome back to Here and There. We are joined now by Dr. Leah Horton. She is the Associate Dean at the Honors College at UCA, and she's here for a really special event. I'm really excited for us to get to know more about this, but also to talk about the event itself. It's a 5K. We'll get to it. Rocket Run, Bring the Heat 5K. March 11th is when we will do this.
Yes.
It's $30, and that may not seem like a whole lot, but boy, to some people halfway around the world, it's a whole lot.
It's transformational.
Tell us about Rwanda and about this.
Yeah, so I first got interested in Rwanda about 12 years ago. I was working at UCA in one of the residential colleges, and we had some Rwandan presidential scholars on campus. And ultimately, we decided to start a study abroad program. Went to Rwanda, got introduced to this village. We just felt compelled to help. Dr. Jamie Stone was my partner faculty at the time, and through some serendipitous interactions, we came up with this rocket stove idea, proposed it to the village leadership. They were all on board, and we've been doing it ever since.
So a rocket stove, which is where Rocket Run comes from.
Yes.
They cost $30?
So, yes, you can buy commercially manufactured rocket stoves, but they don't last very long.
Okay.
Rocket stoves are really simple in their design. They basically are an L shape, and the fuel chamber is horizontal and the heating chamber is vertical.
Okay.
But the air flows through that rocket stove, and the combustion chamber gets so hot that it basically burns up the smoke. There's very little smoke. But it burns so hot that it'll burn through the metal components of manufactured stoves pretty quickly. So the folks in the village that we work with, they can't afford to buy one time, much less replace it every couple years. Yeah. So instead, we buy the materials, and then we work with the village folks to build them.
Okay.
And so they're built out of brick and concrete mix, and they last for years.
And so you said they're transformational. Why and how are they transformational?
Yeah, for a lot of reasons. So in this particular village, firewood is a very scarce commodity.
Okay.
So globally, about 3 billion people depend on biomass as their source of energy. And in Rwanda, about 80% of the population depends on wood, charcoal, other vegetable and animal matter. And it's not a very healthy way to cook. There's a lot of smoke that's produced, and smoke exposure is one of the leading global burdens of disease from a public health perspective. Respiratory diseases, pneumonia, eye problems. And so these stoves, they reduce firewood consumption compared to the traditional three-stone fires by 30 to 50%.
Oh, wow.
And so based on the research that I did, for one family that has a stove over a year, that's about, 500 or so pounds of wood. But, for the 10 families in the village that have the stoves, it's like 2 tons or 3 tons of wood that's saved. So from an environmental perspective, it's really beneficial when firewood is such a scarce commodity. And then, of course, the reduction in smoke exposure is also good for their health.
So let's talk about Rwanda itself.
Yeah.
It's a country, if you look at the pictures of it, or if you've studied it at all, it's a beautiful place.
Beautiful.
What is the village like that we'll be helping with this?
So this village was established by the Rwandan government in 2009. Rwanda is known as the land of 1,000 hills, and they're not necessarily Arkansas hills. We would call them mountains.
Right.
And there is a forest area that was very mountainous. You got to understand, Rwanda is about the size of Maryland, which is 5 times smaller than Arkansas.
Wow.
But Rwanda is the most densely populated country in sub-Saharan Africa. There's about 13 million people. We have less than 3 million people in Arkansas, right? So the land use pressure is enormous. So there's been a lot of deforestation, which has led in the rainy season to landslides and flooding, and folks are dying who were living in this forest area. They had lived there for millennia. They were hunters and gatherers. They were the original indigenous people of Rwanda. But for safety reasons and for conservation and renewal of the forest region, the government moved them into this village. But the village itself is built on a volcanic bedrock. So there's a volcanic range that runs through Rwanda, Uganda, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. So basically, we joke that they grow rocks. But they were moved into this village. There's rock everywhere and expected to be subsistence farmers. Well, it's really hard to eke out a living when you're growing rocks. Yeah. And so employment opportunities are very limited. Poverty is endemic. Many of the adults have very limited education. There is a school in the village, and so their children are now going to school, and they want so much to improve their lives and improve the opportunities for their kids. And so, you know, they're very open to new ideas. You know, we've tried to work really closely with them, not to come in as outsiders and say, this is what you need to do, but instead partner with them and really come up with solutions together. And so the village it's got about 900 families. Right now, there are only 10 stoves in the village that we built, you know, for the research that I was doing. And so this 5K, you know, with $30 for the registration fee, we can buy the supplies to build a stove. So everybody who registers is essentially sponsoring a stove, which, like I said, is transformational to the families who receive them. So I'm taking another group of students to Rwanda in May. This will be the 6th group of students that I've taken. And it's a service learning project. It's a study abroad program through UCA, but it has a service learning component. And so when these kids go into the village and they work with folks who they can't speak their language, but it's amazing to see that they find ways to communicate and the relationships that develop over the 3 or 4 days that we spend in the village. It's really transformational for these kids.
How do people get signed up for the race?
Yes, so we have a website on Eventbrite. So you can go to Eventbrite and, you know, search for the Rocket Run, search for a 5K in Conway. I'm sure you'll be able to show the link.
We've got that on here.
And there'll be a QR code as well that you can scan, and it'll take you directly to the website.
Well, thank you for being here, and continued good luck, and the work that you're doing there is transformational. I love that word.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Appreciate you very much.
We've done it again, Conway, thanks to you. Once again, we've been chosen best of in Faulkner County. You need to come in and browse the facilities. We're a full-service jewelry store. We have everything you can possibly think of, but custom seems to be our brand name and our mark. We can produce some of the finest jewelry that has become so far over the top. I've never seen anything like what this store is capable of doing. Anything that you can conceive, we can make it here at Brooks Fine Jewelry.
Brooks Fine Jewelry, your jewelry makers in downtown Conway.
Transform your internet experience with Conway Corp Managed Wi-Fi, powered by Plume. Full-strength, uninterrupted Wi-Fi everywhere in your home. Multiple devices, maximum streaming and uploading. Installed by our experts for peak performance. Buffering, over. Dead spots, gone. Easy controls manage your smart devices. And advanced security keeps it all safe. It's the smarter way to Wi-Fi. Conway Corp Managed Wi-Fi. Upgrade now.
Welcome back to Here and There. I'm joined now by Stefanie Brazile, our friend from 501 Life magazine. She's the editor there, and she joins us each month, and we're always grateful to get to visit with Stefanie about the magazine. This month, it's the February issue is about love in the 501, and the family that we're going to focus on first shows love in ways that I don't know that any of us could do, the Meeks family.
Truly, we featured them on the cover, and David and Naomi Meeks have adopted 2 sibling groups. They went through the foster system and then adopted 2 sets of siblings, and in 2018 they had 8 children under 8 in their home.
That's the hardest thing in the world to imagine. and they're 8 foster children. Did they have any biological children in the home at that time?
They do not.
Oh, wow.
They do not. After dealing with some problems in that area, they decided to be foster parents. And then as children came in and out of their home, Naomi said, it just breaks my heart to think of kids in the hardest night of their life being taken from their home and separated from their siblings as well. Wow. So they started fostering sibling groups and then began adopting, and they've adopted 2 sets of sibling groups, and they're just a beautiful family.
Great. Looking forward to reading about them, learning more. The Romance Post Office. When you're talking about February and Valentine's and love, the Romance Post Office is a popular place.
Have you ever taken a Valentine there?
I have not, but I should.
Well, I think a lot of the viewers may not have either, and there's still time to do that.
Okay.
So it's just over the White County line, just on the edge of Faulkner County, but I made the drive one Friday, and you can either take your Valentine there or you can mail it there, and they will remail it. But the beautiful thing is that you get this postage stamper on your stamps, and it's the only one in the world that will say Romance Post Office. And they were processing 12,000 envelopes a year in this little town of 300 people pre-COVID, but it has already, they have an uptick. So lots of people do this. Also, wedding invitations are mailed out there. They've even had a wedding at the post office and some vow renewals. So it's a romantic place.
Speaking of romance, let's talk about our couple of the month. It's Judy and Billy Zellner.
Yes.
They've been married for a while.
They've been married 60 years, but
Wow.
what is even more remarkable is that they have worked together most of those years.
Really?
And I think a lot of couples would find that challenging.
Yes.
But they make that easy, and just a beautiful couple that lives in Greenbrier.
We are going to be, of course, focusing on art in this episode as we visit with Bryan Massey. But also, there's a new piece of art that's available downtown at the MLK Park. Tell us about that.
Yes, it's titled Unity, and you'll notice it as you drive by that MLK Square because I'm guessing 30 feet, that's my guess, but it's a beautiful silver sculpture. It's going to be uplit at night, and they're dedicating that this month. It has changed a little bit because of the weather, so check the Facebook page of the city, but just a beautiful addition to our downtown area.
Conway Christian School's making an addition as well. What's going on there?
Yes, they have added a 30,000 square foot academic space for their high school. So we wanted to let everybody go inside that building, see what it's like. This is our second religious school this year that has made an addition with St. Joseph and now Conway Christian. So we just want to take our readers inside the building and let them know what's going on.
Nice. Some nice work that's being done on both of those campuses.
Definitely.
Both look beautiful. I'm interested about this. You're going to show us how to set a Valentine table for 2, and it's with pizza. Now, is this something that's being delivered? Is it something I'm picking up, or is it something I'm making at home?
Well, Chef Don Bingham does tell you how to make this at home.
Okay.
A heart-shaped pizza
Okay.
with heart-shaped pepperonis. But you know, I think some places will do that for you on Valentine's Day anyway, if you order ahead. But we're just making it very realistic. It's kind of hard to get into restaurants sometimes on Valentine's Day, and some people would just prefer to stay in. So how do you set that romantic table and do that at home?
Very nice, very nice. That'll be helpful on Valentine's Day and really any day because you have romantic days throughout the year. And the 501 basketball team is being introduced. It's a big group.
47 student athletes from around the area. We're so glad to highlight these kids. Some of those smaller schools just don't get the accolades that they deserve.
That's right.
So we have students, boys and girls, from most all of those schools, and you can meet 47 of them in the magazine. Then we have a separate basketball issue being published in February as well.
Very good.
That really focuses on all of those 47 students.
Nice. You can also find information on the website, which is 501lifemag.com. Stefanie, thank you as always.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you to our guests for joining us and to you for watching. Now, if you have a story idea, please send it to us here and there at conwaycorp.com.